Welcome to the Autism Infocast. I'm Peter Clark, founder and chairman of the Autism Info Centre. Our podcasts delve into every part of autism and neurodiversity, and we want to help you spread understanding, respect, and kindness for those whose lives are affected. Whether you're autistic yourself, or whether you know or care for someone who's autistic, or maybe you just come into contact with autistic people in everyday life. Either way, please feel free to check out our hundreds of articles, videos, books, and training courses at autisminfocentre.org. And I'll leave you now in the capable hands of today's hosts, Jemima and Theo. Over to you.
Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine walking through your day, encountering all sorts of people, and maybe wishing you had a little more insight into how different individuals experience the world. Well, today, our podcast is all about gaining exactly that understanding. We're diving into some fascinating material here. It sort of guides us on how to recognize possible autistic traits and, really crucially, how to respond with kindness and respect. Our goal is to give you a shortcut to being well-informed, highlighting surprising facts and practical tips that can genuinely make everyday interactions better for everyone.
Yeah, and what's genuinely powerful about this topic is really getting to grips with autism as a lifelong neurodevelopmental disability.
Yeah.
It's so often described as a spectrum condition, and that's because it genuinely affects each person in really unique ways. You should think of it less like a straight line, mild to severe.
Right.
Maybe more like a color wheel, where each person has this unique blend of intensities across different traits. So this means individuals will have varying degrees of difficulty with social interaction, with communication, and behavior. And what's really striking is that it's often a hidden disability. You simply can't tell someone is autistic just by looking at them. It's not visible. Many autistic people actually learn to mask or camouflage their natural behaviors just to fit in, which is exactly why understanding these nuances is so incredibly important for all of us.
That idea of masking, of, camouflaging, that already suggests a complexity I hadn't fully considered. If it's often hidden, how do we even begin to, recognize these traits and connect with people in a more empathetic way?
That's precisely the challenge, isn't it? And also the opportunity. Because it's not always visible, we kind of have to shift our perspective away from making assumptions based on just appearance and more towards understanding the why behind certain behaviors. And our sources offer some fantastic insights into that. It's absolutely never about trying to diagnose someone you meet.
Right, yeah, definitely not about armchair diagnosis.
No, it's about cultivating a more, empathetic lens, so we can interpret behavior thoughtfully.
Okay, so if we're looking for those subtle indicators, where might we typically observe them first? I imagine often it's in the way people communicate and interact socially. Can you maybe unpack some of those differences for us?
Absolutely. So one of the most common observations is that autistic people may find it, genuinely difficult to understand subtle social cues. Just think about how much information we convey without words, right? Facial expressions, body language, gestures, even the tone of our voice. For many autistic individuals, interpreting these nuanced signals can be like trying to read a foreign language, but without a dictionary. It's tough.
And thinking about the other side of that, their own communication style can be quite different too, can't it?
Exactly. Many communicate in a very direct and literal way. They tend to say exactly what they mean, which honestly can be incredibly refreshing. But it also means they might struggle with things like sarcasm, metaphors, or, figures of speech like, it's raining cats and dogs.
Right. Literal meanings.
Yeah, idioms can be particularly baffling because the literal meaning is just so far from the intended one. And this directness, while it's efficient, can sometimes be misinterpreted by neurotypical people as, maybe bluntness or even rudeness.
Simply because it lacks that sort of social padding we're used to.
Precisely. It really highlights how much of our everyday communication relies on unspoken assumptions and cultural shorthand. They might also find it difficult to start or, maintain conversations or even know when it's okay to join in. And for some, eye contact can be genuinely uncomfortable or even overwhelming.
Okay, so beyond just how we speak and interact, another really profound difference can be found in how individuals experience the world around them, specifically through their senses. What are some common sensory sensitivities we might encounter?
Well, okay, try to imagine having a serious conversation, but in a room where every single sound is amplified, like turned way up, and the lights are like a constant blinding flash. That's kind of what sensory overload can feel like for some autistic individuals. They can be much more intensely affected by loud noises, bright lights, strong smells, or even certain textures and tastes.
Wow.
So you can see how overwhelming public spaces like, say, shopping centers, busy markets, or even bustling waiting rooms can become. They're just filled with this intense barrage of sensory stuff.
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? How much we just take our sensory comfort for granted. It's not just that bright lights are maybe annoying for some.
Right.
For some, it's like a constant, unbearable assault.
Precisely. And our built environments, often designed for the neurotypical experience, that is, for people whose brains process information in ways generally considered typical, well, these places can become incredibly challenging for others. Sensory overload isn't just uncomfortable. It can lead to significant anxiety, distress, and in some cases, even meltdowns, which are an involuntary response to being overwhelmed.
Right, right. Then there's the aspect of routine and predictability.
Yeah.
How does that play into the autistic experience?
Yeah, routine is a big one. For many autistic individuals, a consistent routine provides a real sense of safety and predictability. It helps them navigate the world. So changes to that routine or unfamiliar environments can be incredibly challenging and anxiety-inducing.
Okay.
Imagine relying on a certain order to get through your day, and suddenly that order is just gone. That disruption to predictability can indeed create significant distress. It can make seemingly minor changes feel, well, monumental.
And we also sometimes see intense interests, right? And repetitive behavior, sometimes called stimming. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, definitely. Many autistic people develop these incredibly intense interests or hobbies. They focus on them deeply, sometimes becoming real experts. And yes, stimming or self-stimulatory behaviors, things like hand flapping or rocking, maybe repeating phrases, those are common. Right. And it's not just a quirk, It's actually a nervous system response. It's a way for the individual's brain to process overwhelming input or maybe manage intense emotions, almost like a pressure valve for their internal world. What's really crucial to understand here is that these behaviors serve a purpose for the individual. They are absolutely not done to annoy other people.
That's such an important point.
It is. And seeing these behaviors not as just quirks, but as essential tools for self-management, that's where it gets truly insightful, I think.
So it's really about recognizing that behavior itself can be a form of communication, especially when maybe verbal communication is challenging for them at that moment.
Exactly that. What might appear to us as challenging behavior in an autistic person might actually be their attempt to express an unmet need. Perhaps they're in pain or feeling completely overwhelmed or simply unable to communicate what they need using words right then. That's why it's so important to ask ourselves, are we truly listening to what the behavior might be trying to tell us? Or are we perhaps misinterpreting it because we lack understanding? It's a key question for actually fostering connection.
Okay, so after this deep dive into understanding these aspects, what does this all mean for you, the listener? The core message seems to be that supporting autistic people in the community really hinges on understanding, kindness, respect, and compassion. And our source material gives us some incredibly practical ways you can help. First up, let's talk about communication again.
Yes, clear communication is absolutely paramount. Trying to be direct. And avoid sarcasm, jargon, idioms, metaphors, figures of speech.
Because they're often taken literally?
Exactly. They're often taken literally, and that can just lead to misunderstandings. Keep it clear.
And patience. Patience seems key. Some autistic people might experience what's sometimes called a processing delay. It's like imagine your brain is a really powerful computer, but sometimes it just needs a few extra seconds to load a complex file. It's not that the file won't load, it just needs that moment. So the advice is to allow them that extra time. Let them absorb what you've said and formulate a response. Don't rush them.
And related to that, when you're checking for understanding, just asking, do you understand, might not actually be enough.
Oh.
Yeah, some individuals might just say yes, even if they don't fully get it, perhaps to be polite or avoid difficulty. So be willing to repeat information, maybe rephrase it in different ways if needed, and ask direct, specific questions to really ensure clarity. Not just, do you get it, but maybe, can you tell me what the first step is?
That makes sense. Another practical tip is about offering specific help. So instead of a really general, can I help, which can be a bit too broad, offer concrete ways like, can I help you find something specific? Or maybe, would you like me to turn down the music slightly? if you're able to.
Yes, that specificity is really helpful.
Yeah.
And if you find yourself in a position where you can influence the environment, maybe in a shop you manage or a community group or even just your own home when hosting, try to consider how sensory stimuli might be affecting someone. Small adjustments, things like dimming bright lights or reducing background noise if possible, can make a huge difference to their comfort and their ability to engage.
And we should always respect boundaries and routines too, right?
Right.
Be mindful of personal space. Some people need more than others. And if it's possible, try to provide advance notice of any changes to plans or routines. Unexpected changes can be incredibly distressing for some individuals.
Absolutely. And this one is vital. Please do not assume you know what an autistic person is thinking or feeling, and definitely don't assume all autistic people are the same. Avoid relying on those stereotypes you often see in the media. They're rarely accurate. Autistic people are individuals with unique strengths, unique challenges, unique personalities, just like anyone else.
So ultimately, if someone's behavior seems different or unexpected, the best approach is just to choose patience and kindness. Understand that their behavior might simply be a response to feeling overwhelmed, or maybe being unable to communicate a need in that moment. It's about meeting them where they are, with compassion.
Exactly. And finally, perhaps a great step anyone can take is simply to learn more. Taking the time to educate yourself further really demonstrates genuine interest and respect. Seek out reliable resources, websites, books, and whenever possible, listen directly to the voices of autistic people themselves. Their lived experiences are truly the most valuable source of understanding there is.
Yeah, absolutely. So by adopting these practical tips and approaching interactions with empathy and a real willingness to adapt, you can contribute to creating a much more inclusive and supportive community. A community where autistic individuals feel understood, respected, and valued. And remember, your small actions, your adjustments, they really can make a significant difference.
You know, this really raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it? How can we move beyond just tolerating neurodiversity? How can we actually truly embrace it in all our spaces, recognizing the unique contributions and perspectives that absolutely everyone brings?
Thanks for listening to this Autism Infocast from the AutismInfoCenter.org.
Thank you, Jemima and Theo. I'm sure we've all learned something there today. Don't forget to visit AutismInfoCenter.org to hear our other episodes, browse our library of articles, see our inspiring range of books, watch our videos about autism and neurodiversity, and find out about training courses that can help you or your organization make the world a safer, happier, and more meaningful place for us all. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please feel free to spread the word about Autism Info Center. A quick mention on your socials is always appreciated. Until next time, this is Peter Clark from AutismInfoCenter.org. Have a great day.